This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson. I'm also here with Jared Davis. We are here to talk about the Iron Bowl. Jared, you and I had high hopes coming into this. We were coming in with a lot of momentum, despite even still losing the game previous to New Mexico State. We still had that kind of riding that wave, and we hung in there, and we had a chance. I mean, every chance we had, there was more chances there than I think anybody ever expected for Auburn. And, we still lost. There's no moral victories here. And I'm not trying to claim any. I'm just saying that we hung in there, which is pretty crazy. I know a lot of people are saying this is probably, Hugh Freeze his worst class, and maybe rightly so, because of just the talent gap. The previous coaches hadn't recruited as highly. So if we can do this with, what talent we have right now, which obviously showed it could compete against the number 8 team in the whole country right now, it's pretty impressive. So, Jared, have you recovered? Because I'm still in the recovery phase from this game.
Time heals all. Isn't that the saying or something like that?
It feels like it.
It's kind of one of those. I've had people, I'd rather get blown out. And I'm like, it really goes back to that. Would you have rather loved and lost than never have loved at all? Mm. Because the loving part was like it was right there. We had it.
Yeah.
And then we lost it. Would you have rather had that than to gotten blown out? I think in the moment it's easy to say, man, I would have rather gotten blown out. But when you look back at it, like you're building a foundation and you're trying to impress recruits and the fans, the environment was amazing. You're like, no, I think the way it went down, in my opinion, is still a better way than losing 40-7. I've not gotten over that play. Neither's better getting blown out or that, but I think you still got to take that because we showed fight, man. We were I didn't text it to anybody during the game, but there was a very long period where I was thinking we've basically only really given up a busted coverage touchdown. We went through almost 2 quarters of essentially shutting them down.
Yeah, and that's pretty crazy considering Jalen Milroe wants that Heisman though. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, he's not. He's good. He's good. Don't get me wrong. But
yeah.
And he may. Jaden Daniels last year was good. He became great this year. So he may become great. But very good. He kept drives alive. He was the difference maker. And the throw at the end. I hate to say it was a very nice throw.
Right. Well, I keep coming back to that. Like it had to be a perfectly thrown ball.
Yes.
Our guy was there. It's not like it
Yes.
was just a wide open pass. Like he threw it to where only his guy could get it. And he was chunking that ball probably 40, 45 yards. That's not easy. There's some credit that needs to be deserved there and less taken off of guys like DJ James, which DJ James throughout this whole season and even this game had a great game besides that one play. And so, I just want to say hey, if you're putting a little pressure on DJ James and even Coy Moore, you're thinking about those couple plays, which that's what stuck in my mind. That's okay, but don't be throwing it on those players because let's be honest, there's way more plays out there that could have turned this game around and had us win this game. It's not just those two.
Yeah, this next sentence is not complaining because I would not have wanted them. I don't think they're never going to call that. It's okay. DJ James was on the guy. He got pushed. It was offensive pass interference, but it's not even one that I think should probably be called because there's a lot of hand going back. But DJ James couldn't have done any more. There was probably supposed to be safety help over the top. When that ball was in the air a long time, you would hope someone else would also come over to help on that with that many safeties. But yeah, I look back. I did text this to a buddy when we had to settle for a field goal. I was like, man, that feels like that's going to come back to bite us because we were driving. I'm going to be honest. I think the game plan was great, but bringing in Robbie, and I think we still got a first down after it, but it just changed the cadence. When he comes in, we lose 5 yards, and I'm like, wow, like Thorne is literally he's running like Cam Newton in this game. I mean, he is barreling people over. He's getting like I don't understand that, but that drive we led to a field goal. So you're right. It is very easy, and it is frustrating. It happened, but it's easy to point at Coy, easy to point at DJ. If we get a touchdown on that drive, we got a field goal. That's game over.
Oh, yeah, that's game. And Alabama is trying to run a 2-minute offense down the field, have to score, and then they probably have to kick an onside, something like that. So that's it's just it sucks the way that it went down. I will say this, for being in the stands, and there's something about Auburn, even if you're a 6-5 team coming into this game, that the fans didn't feel it, the players didn't think it. They thought they were better than that. And there was so much energy in the stadium. And I'll say this. I was just talking to Jared right before this. The producers, I'm calling it like the general producers of like the screen and the music and the DJ and all that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh. Like that was 3.5 hours or 4 hours if you include like pregame stuff of some of the best entertainment ever. Like even my sister was like, man, this is the best reality TV show I've seen all year. And I was like, it kind of is. Like, that's how entertaining it was. Like, people were like glued to it. I had so many people texting me throughout this game talking about what is happening. This is a crazy game. And people I didn't even know were watching the Auburn football game because there were different fans from different universities. But here we are. And that's kind of just showing you, even when it's a team like Auburn that was 6-5, we can still bring the energy, and the players fed off that, and you could tell they were in this game. I mean, we should have won it, but here we are. And we gave Alabama a good scare. So at worst, we did that, right?
Yeah. So there was a beat writer. I don't remember his name, but he basically went on. He's like, I've covered national championship games, SEC, games of the century. He's like, Auburn with a lead in the fourth quarter is the most intimidating environment in sports.
Yeah.
And also, real quick, this isn't about Georgia, but they interviewed Carson Beck after he played in Tennessee 2 weeks ago about the environment, and he said I thought Auburn was louder. And then I saw a more detailed interview, and he went into detail about it, and he said he had chills on the sideline. He said that was the craziest environment he's ever been a part of in football.
Wow.
And so, I think you're right. The environment's amazing. That's always going to be there because we haven't been good for the last 5 years, and that environment is still that way. And AJ, that environment almost beat Alabama. It almost beat Georgia. You never really felt like we were going to beat Georgia, but let's be real. They had to do a game-winning drive with 2 minutes left. I mean,
yeah.
And this is with bad teams.
I know, like relatively bad. Like, there's not much depth in a lot of Auburn's positions right now, especially on defense. And it's
AJ, we completed 5 passes. We completed 5 passes, and we should have beaten Alabama.
Wow.
And I think it's because of the stadium. I mean, I think the player. I mean, if you're listening, y'all did everything. But I think that stadium took everybody to another level.
But the players played to another level.
Yeah, they took them to another level. Yeah.
There's one thing for a regular team to come into like a neutral site and have a good day, right? But when you have a home field advantage, and it literally, like I went to college in 2010, and then I also had the 2013 seasons. Obviously those are magical seasons, and you can just feel it in the air. The players fed off of it. It was just something special. Like I would argue, and I saw somebody make this comparison, they thought that this environment was better than even some of those games. And I would agree. Like the amount of energy and fun environment that it was, I mean, 2013 was awesome, right? Like, but this game was kind of right up there with it, which is saying a lot. So, you hit on it, the running. So let's talk about that. We ran the ball a lot. Only passed the ball 5 times throughout the whole game. Jarquez kind of carried a lot of it, but Damari Austin, he was averaging 8.5 carries. He got 10 carries, 85 yards, got a touchdown. Man, I was happy to see him because honestly, I think he's probably the future of this running back room. Because I'm still kind of telling myself it's probably gonna be Jarquez's last time as an Auburn Tiger. He's probably going off to the NFL. But hey, Damari played one heck of a game, and even both Jarquez and Damari had some really long runs. 56 yards for Damari, and Jarquez got a 42-yard run. I mean, like, that just doesn't happen against Bama. Like, you have to really believe in it, and also set up the play, and all of your players know exactly what to do for that to happen against a really good defense. So I'm really proud of our running attack and what we did, because we said that's what we're gonna do, and we executed. We did it really well.
So one of the guys on 3, just to give them credit, one of their analyst guys, he did a breakdown, and he said that a lot of the runs we were doing were from our 2013 team. So, Hugh and Gus are buddies, right? So yeah. I wonder if there was some, connection there of like, hey, this worked, try it again. But also, if you think about it, we ran very well against them last year.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we just didn't have a defense, but we put up yards and points on them. So it is weird how we're able to run on them. And I don't think I had zero problems with the game plan. There was not a single moment except for bringing Robbie in where I thought, man, if we would do this different.
Yeah.
I really did.
That's pretty cool considering we only put up how many points? I forget. I blocked out the last game, but we
got 24. Yeah.
Whatever.
New Mexico State. That was 10. That I think the game against Alabama showed, and this should not happen, and this is on coaches. That showed that they just didn't show up. I mean, New Mexico State is not a better team than Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, New Mexico State, I think, won by 3 Saturday. I don't remember who they were playing. They barely won. I mean, it was fluke scenario. We did not show up. That's coaching. That cannot happen. But that's not a sign of, wow, we're not even better than New Mexico State.
Yeah. So one crazy stat somebody pulled out, rushing. Auburn has rushed the ball, in the last, this was at halftime, so it's probably even better than that. But we had 499 yards and 4 touchdowns in the last 6 quarters against Alabama. So add on top of that, however many we got in the second half rushing. And so you're probably looking at I would kind of ballpark it 600 yards rushing combined against Alabama over the last 2 years. That stat is nuts. Just showing you how much success we had in the running game. And I know Hugh Freeze doesn't want that to be the future of Auburn because he wants it to be a little bit more balanced. But hey, props to him and our offensive coordinator for just saying, hey, we're gonna go to our strengths here. And there wasn't even necessarily I was thinking about this. Only in a game like this you have to do a few things kind of fluky. There's maybe 1 or 2 kind of we did a wildcat with Jarquez. He did a little pop pass that worked. But besides that, I mean, it was just kind of a regular offense, right? We didn't have to do any double passes or anything like that.
I mean, we manned up and essentially beat them. I mean, you're right. There was nothing fluky. Really, I said there was a play call. The first drive was bad. I did not like.
Yeah. Wasn't that pretty much then Alabama drove down the field and you're just oh crap, here we go. This game could get out of hand real quick.
Well, let's go ahead and go there because that is how I'm coping, right? Because I'll be honest with you. After the first 10 minutes of the game, I was communicating with friends, and we were like, okay, this is going to be a blowout. This is not going to be a game. And for Auburn to turn that around and by the fourth quarter, not only be a game, but they were in control of the game.
Yeah.
And, Saban, said that holding call that returned but it was a legit holding. So, I mean, you could say that about every hold. Okay, well, if they're not holding the guy, he might have tackled him, Saban said that was the turning point. And I've heard Alabama fans complaining about the other touchdown callback where Milroe was 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. I'm like, well, if we let people throw it 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, there's a lot more touchdowns. I mean,
because he had like 3 of those that game.
Yeah, it's like a legit penalty, so I don't understand why we're mad. But anyways, I think the fact that they came out flat. Auburn was flat. And for them to turn it around mid-game like that was pretty impressive.
It really was. And you know what was when it started was Auburn got the ball on their own 32-yard line, and we just ran the ball 6 times.
Yep.
And it was Jarquez, Damari Alston. And it was like touchdown. And you're just like, that's awesome. Like, we just said, here we go. We're going to, instead of just punting the ball away, 3 and out, we're going to run the ball. And Auburn did it. So there were also another couple, I think, felt like key plays there where Auburn held Alabama to a field goal. And even, one time he missed the field goal, which, I feel like that's big. Anytime you can do that against Bama, who can score a lot of points, our defense knew what they had to do, and they, for the most part, did what they to help us win. And even I'm the last of the game, you give them a short field at like the 20-yard line. Alabama is going to score more times than not in that kind of situation anyway. Auburn got a couple of good breaks, botched snap, and then the crazy Hail Mary to the corner of the end zone. Like, Alabama had to have a lot of things go right, and that, unfortunately for Auburn, happened. Like, I want to get your opinion on this, because I had a friend text me. He was like, well, I knew it was like karma. It was going to come back to bite you on the butt after the kick 6, and it just hasn't happened. And I was like, does it feel like, is that what it feels like to be on the other side of kick 6? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, as a comparison?
Yeah, I think so. But it's already come back to bite us because, let's be honest, 2021, the thing that hurts so much about this one is it's a repeat of 2021. It was 10-3. They could not move the ball. They hadn't moved it all game. They go down. They throw a fade in the end zone with almost no time left and score and tie the game. And it's like, I at some point we've paid our dues for 2013, right?
Well, that would be my argument. I'm like, if you're kind of, I know it's not the same, but like the football gods balancing and things out. But I'm like, really? Like, I feel like if anything, we deserve that because literally 2 years ago under Harsin, we almost did it.
If Tank stays in bounds,
4 overtimes.
If Tank stays in bounds, if they don't catch that crazy play, this year, if we don't muff a punt, if they don't hit a ridiculous pass in the end zone, like there's so many things. You replay those games into those games 10 times, 9 of those times Auburn wins. Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
And it's just like, I think the kick 6. I think they can't call us lucky anymore because they've definitely had their share of luck the past 2 years in Auburn. And I think as Auburn fans, you're like, when does that end? It's been a while, man. If we're being honest, it's really 2019 was a good year, but 2017 was the last year that really mattered. And so I think that's why it hurts so much because you're like, oh man, okay, we've been here before.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I heard somebody say, they were like, man, when is Auburn going to have their next thing, their next break? What is the next kick 6 per se? And I was really hoping this was going to be the one. A 6-5 Auburn team comes in, beats Alabama, who has 10 wins, and they do it, pretty well, like pretty dominating. Like we almost did that. Like if it wasn't for the muff punt, I legitimately think Auburn runs a few more plays. Maybe we punt the ball away, but then Alabama has to drive 70 yards down the field to even get
no timeout,
a touchdown and no timeouts.
Here's one more cope I will give you if you're listening because we need as many as we can get. This is free therapy. So if Hugh Freeze is the guy Auburn hired him to be, we'll never forget about this game, but it won't hurt as bad 5 years from now. We'll be winning the home games. You might still win in Tuscaloosa. The goal is get good enough players. You win the home games in this rivalry.
Yeah.
And we're on to bigger and better things. So if you need something to hang your hat on, if Hugh, and you may not think he is, and I don't know, if Hugh's the guy that we hired him to be, 5 years from now, this will still be video. It will still be showed. It will still hurt because it's the Iron Bowl, but it won't hurt as much because we'll be on to bigger and better things.
Right.
And if he's not the guy, then it doesn't really matter anyways, right? I mean, we're going to be worried about other things then too. So give it time. I think this will pass.
Yeah.
We're either going to be on to much bigger and better things, or we're going to be revisiting this situation in 3 years with a new coach. So
right. Well, and that kind of gets me thinking about, we finished the regular season. We're 6-6 now, and I was just doing a little reflecting on the games that we, for all the games we were favored in, we won minus New Mexico State. The one that we were not expected to win, Arkansas, we just absolutely torched them. But that was, kind of looming all the craziness going on in Arkansas. And we just, we said that was our game. If you kind of look at it that way, we won the games we were supposed to. We lost the games we were supposed to. Yeah. Were we in some games, like the Georgia and Alabama games, that nobody gave us a shot? Yeah. Like that's a good spot to be at. And the consistency, if I'm being honest, I feel like Hugh Freeze can get more consistency once we get the better recruits in here, because those recruits are going to be the winners. Those guys know how to win, So that's where I'm kind of like trying to sit in this, like, hey, it's 6-6. Somebody even pointed out like Harsin was 6-6. I was like, yeah, but like, did his offense do anything? No. Did
that was a whole.
Hugh Freeze's offense do stuff towards the end of the year? 100%. I love that.
Yeah. So real quick, if you're worried about, because there's a lot of places to worry, if you're like, is Hugh Freeze the guy? And I can't sit there and analyze every play, but we ran slant routes on key drives in this game and completed them. We ran plays where we got receivers wide open against one of the best defenses in the country, and some of them were dropped. We saw something, called a timeout, come out of it. Javarius Johnson is so wide open on a wheel route. Like, that's that's coaching, right? And we scored, we connected on it. And give Thorne credit. That same play, he way overthrew it at Texas A&M earlier in the year. So, like, there's been development. He only completed 5 passes. There were some drops in the game. The first drive was not well designed. There's a lot of nuance there. I think at the end of the day, give these guys, and listen, I love everybody on this team, okay? I think everybody was playing to the level they can. Give these guys a higher level player. I think it's going to be pretty exciting, at least offensively.
Yeah. Oh, I think so too. I mean, so kind of another aspect of this whole weekend, and even Hughes talked about it, there were 80 plus recruits that came to the Iron Bowl, and 8 of those were 5 stars. Like, this was a huge weekend for recruiting. And there were reports like Hugh Freeze, every minute he wasn't with the team, he was with recruits. He was talking, chatting it up, getting them excited about Auburn. And that's what you want. I mean, for if you're a recruit, I mean, there were even some that posted some videos of their experience, and you could tell they were just in awe. Like, it was a genuine awe of how amazing it was there. And so, like, I think, and even one of the first dominoes started to fall. We got a 4-star defensive lineman recruit, and that brings up our 2025 recruiting class to number 5 in the nation. So, like, again, trust the process of, like, this is a long-term thing with recruiting. And so, hey, if we're getting them now, I mean, who knows when we actually have a successful season where we're winning 9, 10, maybe even 11 wins in a season in the next few years. We're going to be getting a lot of attention from recruits because they're going to see the success at Auburn and want to play at Auburn. So that's kind of where I'm like, I see more of a future in a 6-6 season with Hugh Freeze than I did a 6-6 season with Harsin.
Oh, without a doubt. Harsin's whole issue was recruiting. I mean, if Harsin would still be our coach if he, and I don't know where we're going to end up, right? But if he had even the momentum around recruiting that Hugh Freeze does, because fans get tied up in, I don't like this coach, yada, yada, yada. Administration probably doesn't. They're like, is this guy winning ball games? Is he running a clean program? Okay. Is there hope? Like, there was no, it was not going well. And so that's why it got pulled. If he was recruiting well, I mean, look at Billy Napier at Florida. They've had 2 bad seasons, but they're ranked like number 4 in recruiting.
Yeah.
So he's going to get another year because of that. He may only get one more year, but he's getting another year. You got to have something to point to. And Hugh right now, and we'll see how it ends in a couple of weeks here, but Hugh right now can say, look at our recruiting. I currently have more 5-stars on this class than you've had like in the last 4 years combined, which is sad to say, but it's true.
Wow, you just hit me with a truth bomb and it hurt.
I mean, the last 5-star we had was, who was our linebacker last year that just went pro?
Papo.
Yeah, he was our last 5-star.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy. So.
Yeah. One more kind of big topic that I want to talk about. Now that the regular season's over in just a few days, bowl selection Sunday is happening. I want to throw some possibilities that I've kind of seen. So the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, ReliaQuest in Orlando, the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, Texas, obviously out in Houston, the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, and the Music City Bowl in Nashville. What's kind of your gut? What would be kind of an ideal situation for Auburn as far as just location? I'm not even talking about matchups, but location wise, I mean, I'm just happy to not be going to the Birmingham Bowl, if I'm being honest. So any of these I'd be happy with. But any of them that kind of stands out to you that you think would be a good fit?
I'm not a great fan in this regard. I don't spend the money and go to bowl games, so I'll be honest with you. Probably not a good person to ask here, because at the end of the day, to me, I'm only watching on TV, and so I just like to see them play another game. I would like to see a quality opponent. I saw one example was Oklahoma State. Maybe we haven't played them in a long time, if ever, that I recall. So somebody new, a different opponent. I don't want to get stuck playing like a Wisconsin or something that we do all the time. So give me a newer opponent. But I would say for the team and the fans, I don't even remember the exact locations you mentioned. But, yeah, somewhere in Florida would be nice. Yeah. I don't know if Nashville's an option. Nashville's a cool town. Yeah, that was one. Nashville's a cool town. So
I was kind of leaning towards, like, Nashville or maybe the Charlotte. Like, I feel like both of those would be fun.
Charlotte's a nice town. I mean, Charlotte, very nice town. It doesn't have the same appeal as Nashville, but it is definitely a nice area. So that wouldn't be a bad one either.
And you got the weird thing of it's the Duke Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, so they're gonna like dump mayo on a coach or something, and it's just gonna be ridiculous. Like I kind of like that. I love a little gimmickry when it comes to bowls.
I put mayonnaise on my food, but the fact of being dumped in it makes it just a little queasy. Mentioning Duke, there is a Duke stud quarterback whose coach just left, and his girlfriend goes to Auburn. So, just bringing up the Duke connection here. Nothing's been put out there yet, but he's pretty good. He beat Clemson. He's from He's from Fairhope, Alabama. His girlfriend goes to Auburn, and his coach just went to A&M. So. Anyways, I just made a weird connection between Duke Mayo and a possible transfer quarterback.
I love that. I don't mind it. It's a good transition, A couple other just kind of final thoughts before we get out of here. So I know a lot of people were talking about why didn't we put more pressure on Milroe? Well, look at how Jalen Milroe, what he did. He had 107 yards carrying the ball. Like, if you put pressure on him and he got out of it, he was going places. He was making you pay for it. And it seemed like Auburn's defense in general was kind of trying to just play contain, keep him in keep him in an area. Like, don't over pursue. And I kind of get where they're coming from. But at the same time, you kind of like, now you're like, man, if only you like brought a couple extra blitzes, sacked them one or two more times, like what would the difference be? So
let's address the last play of the game. I'll give my thoughts and then I don't necessarily hate the call as much as most people, and here's why. If you came to me and said, Jared, from this location, the best chance they have to score is they send a guy streaking full speed and they hit him in a timing route in the end zone for a touchdown, I would say you're probably right. And there's more likely chance that happens if you don't have more DBs on the field. So the less likely thing to happen is that they just throw up a Hail Mary and they catch it when there's a ton of DBs. If you bring 4 or you blitz, you have fewer DBs. And you are more exposed of a streaking receiver just outpacing your DB. Now, hindsight's 20/20.
Of course.
I would not have had the guy spying. They had a guy spying. I think that's pointless. I would say put a whole nother, just blitz 2, just bring 2 and put another DB in the back. I do think the spy guy was a little crazy, but I don't think that I think most coaches would have gone with a similar game plan. That play was impossible.
Right. I mean,
it was impossible.
You look at it's 4th and 31, 32, whatever it was, and they have to score a touchdown. It's literally do or die. I mean, even if you put the ball at like the 10-yard line and said score, the odds are not in your favor. It's just not.
No.
And for it to be that far back, I mean, just like that maybe that's why I'm still kind of hung up on this and it hurts. Because you're just like, the odds were not in their favor at all, and yet that happened.
It was a 99.99% chance that we win that ball game.
Yeah.
Per ESPN. And you load a 10-yard space box with a bunch of DBs, and 9 out of 10 times it gets knocked down.
Right.
Listen, I don't mind if you think we should have blitzed. I don't mind if you think we should have brought 4, but I don't think our coaches were crazy for what they did. I don't personally.
No, I don't think so either. I think their rationale for it was warranted. I know some people are going to say that was a terrible call, but if you gave even Saban, he'd probably do the exact same thing.
Let me ask you let me ask it this way, and then I'll be quiet. If we blitz and we have a one-on-one DB that gets burnt and they score, is everybody saying you shouldn't have blitzed?
Oh, 100%. See, that's the problem. Exactly. Your point is that, and honestly, you blitz them and they hit a one-on-one receiver, that's probably a more likely scenario than what actually happened. It was just Jalen Milroe and their wide receiver made a play. Like, that's what happened. It was a little bit of a backyard football. Kind of just run around the end zone.
It's just so unlikely. And,
right.
It just happened. I mean, and here's another thing. Good teams find ways to win, and bad teams find ways to lose. And right now, we are not a great team.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to call out my man, Oscar Chapman. He had quite a day punting. He got one down to the 1-yard line. I don't know if they showed this on TV, but they did in the stadium. When he got it down to the 1, he brought out his golf clubs and did a little swing celebration. Not his physical golf clubs, but like, the golf club swing celebration.
He's a lefty too. Was he a lefty with his leg? Yeah, he did a lefty. Well, his golf swing was a lefty. I'm like, is he a left-footed kicker?
That was great.
Yeah.
And he was averaging. He almost averaged 48 yards per punt. So incredible. Love it for him. I mean, he is genuinely one of the best and most consistent punters. Like, Alabama's punter was struggling to even get it like 20 yards down the field. And I was like, I don't think I've worried once that Oscar Chapman's going to punt it anything shorter than like 30 yards. Like, he just kicks it like 40 to 45 yards easy. And sometimes he'll get the crazy 50, 55, 60-yard punts. But, like, he is so good. So, I hope some NFL team picks him up because that man, I have a big punting crush over him because of just how good he's a punter. All right. Any other final thoughts before you get out here, Jared?
I'll just circle back around because, again, people don't care what I have to say. But at the end of the day, if this marriage works with Hugh Freeze, this game will be a thing of the past. Give it time. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, we'll be fine. 5 years from now, we'll be winning these games a lot more often, and we'll all be happy.
Yeah, that's a good perspective on this. Like, I want to kind of take it in stride. Hey, maybe this in a couple years from now, we're parting ways with Hugh Freeze, and, we don't think anything more of this. But then on the flip side of this, Hugh Freeze has turned this thing around 2 years from now, and we're competing for an SEC championship. We forgot about the New Mexico State game. We forgot about this Iron Bowl, and we're beating Alabama. Like, that's the potential that I think this team has, because look at us. We're already competing against Georgia and Bama, which are our two biggest rivals, and there's not many teams in the country that can play either one of those teams. And regardless, this, in 1 year, play well against Alabama and Georgia. And guess what? Auburn did it. Honestly, not the greatest other games, but, that's top talent. That's top SEC talent that you have to compete against. And Auburn went toe-to-toe against both of them. So, Jared, before we get out of here, how can the people stay in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on X at AJYJY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger. And War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.